It's natural to feel drowsy when we settle in and start to listen. The mind slows, the body unwinds, and sleep begins to gently tug at us. I'm your narrator, Thomas, and tonight I'm pleased to bring you another extended story time, a compilation of several tales woven together in one long, relaxing episode. Tonight, we'll revisit 4 cherished adventures at Lily's Rainy Day Bakery. We'll begin with pumpkin pie and coffee, then journey into baked apples on a blustery day, follow up with the perfect batch of cookies, and wrap things up with a foggy day for fudge. To help you sink even deeper into the tranquil mood, the soft sound of rainfall will play continuously in the background. It's a sound that many find comforting, familiar, and soothing, just like the stories we're about to enjoy. Each tale you'll hear tonight was written by Shady Grove Oliver and narrated by me. So take a few moments now to ease into your space, settle into bed, and prepare yourself for deep relaxation. Soft instrumental music begins. The setting for these stories may already feel like home to some of you, a place imbued with warmth, kindness, and comfort. Just like your own cozy bed, it's a sanctuary where everything feels safe and gentle. Let the plush weight of the blankets hug your body as your head sinks deep into the pillow. Let your neck and shoulders release any tension they may be holding, giving way to a deeper sense of peace. Even if your muscles feel tight or certain parts of your body ache slightly, just know that with each passing breath, they'll loosen and soften. Let the stress melt away piece by piece until what's left is only a soft and drifting quiet ready to carry you into slumber. For now, simply enjoy being cozy and tucked in just like the character in tonight's story. Raindrops knock lightly against Lily's window. The gentle rhythm of the morning shower is the first thing she notices as she slowly transitions from dreams to wakefulness. She listens carefully, savoring the way each drop splashes delicately on the glass. One by one, she counts them until there are too many to follow. At that point, she lets her mind drift, following their soft cascade like tiny grains of rice falling into a glass jar. This, she thinks, is the music of the season, the soft percussion of rain and the whispered rustling of leaves overhead. A small smile tugs at the corners of her mouth as she imagines the vibrant colors of fall and the peaceful winding down of the year. Lily yawns and stretches her arms high above her head. Though the sky outside remains cloaked in darkness, she knows it's time to rise. Soon, she'll be walking down the familiar path to her beloved bakery, preparing for the day's first customers. While most of her neighbors are still wrapped in dreams, Lily finds joy in beginning her day early. She loves the quiet anticipation of those first few moments in the bakery, the aroma of rising dough, the hiss of the espresso machine, and the joy that comes from serving a warm, freshly baked treat to someone starting their own day. With a soft rustle, Lily sits up and pulls the covers away from her legs. Her toes search for the comforting warmth of her slippers, and with a yawn, she stands, padding gently toward the kitchen. The house is hushed, the quiet broken only by the fading patter of night turning into dawn. She gazes through the kitchen window and notices a faint glow, the first hints of daylight stretching behind the neighbor's house across the street. Her neighbor, still fast asleep, will begin his day much later, tending to his lush garden filled with thriving plants that Lily often admires. She smiles, grateful for the friendly souls who live on her street. Lily moves to the counter and prepares a cup of her favorite black tea. She adds a splash of milk and watches as the cream swirls, blending slowly into the deep amber liquid. Holding the warm mug in both hands, she settles into her usual seat beneath the window and takes a long, soothing sip. The warmth spreads through her like a cozy fire on a cold morning, gently waking her from the inside out. Looking outside again, Lily sees that thick gray clouds have blanketed the town. It's unlikely the rain will let up today, but she doesn't mind. Rain is a constant companion during fall, and she enjoys the excuse to wear her favorite woolen sweaters, colorful scarves, and her cheerful rubber boots. She takes another sip of tea and reflects that all you really need to enjoy a rainy day is warm clothes and a good cup of something hot. With the last drop gone, she rinses her mug and leaves it to dry on the bamboo rack beside the sink. In her bedroom, she dresses for the day and gives her bed one final glance before heading for the door. There will be time to rest later. In the hallway, she puts on her soft felt hat, wraps her scarf snugly around her neck, and picks up her sunshine yellow umbrella. As the door clicks shut behind her, she steps out onto the path, unfurling the umbrella with a pop of vibrant color. From the window of the house next door, a white cat watches her. Its expression unreadable but familiar. Lily waves with a grin. No one else in the neighborhood is up yet. The houses she passes are still dark and quiet, their porch lights flickering gently in the mist. Street lamps cast a warm, golden glow reflecting in the shallow puddles on the pavement. The rain taps steadily on her umbrella as she walks, its soft drumming a comforting companion. Under its bright yellow canopy, she feels shielded and at ease. It reminds her of the blanket forts she used to build as a child, little sanctuaries made of cotton and fleece, where the world felt quiet and completely hers. Smiling at the memory, Lily pulls her scarf closer and dances lightly around puddles as she walks downhill toward her bakery. Ahead, the familiar door of her shop stands out, its bright colors a cheerful contrast against the gray. Painted in a swirl of blues, greens, purples, and oranges, the door is a reflection of Lily's spirit. She remembers the evening she painted it, guided by creativity and the simple joy of bringing something vibrant into the world. Her hands and overalls were covered in paint by the time she finished, but her heart felt full. At the door, she selects a brass key and fits it into the lock. The door creaks open to reveal the quiet interior of her still slumbering bakery. With a gentle flick, she turns on the lights and warmth spills across the room. The familiar sense of flour, sugar, and espresso beans greet her like old friends. There's even a hint of toasted pecans left over from yesterday's pie. Lily steps inside, already envisioning the morning's tasks, cinnamon rolls first, with a sprinkle of pecans for crunch. Pumpkin pies are next. Customers always begin asking for them as soon as autumn arrives. Some want just a slice, but others come hoping to take home an entire pie for family. She walks to the cozy seating area and plugs in the fairy lights strung overhead. They twinkle to life, casting a soft glow throughout the space. Lily pauses to admire them, feeling a gentle wave of calm wash over her. These are the little moments, she thinks, that make life feel truly magical. Rain patters gently against the glass panes near Lily's bed. Every so often, a breeze sends a fresh burst of droplets tapping harder against the windows. Wrapped in the warmth of her blankets, Lily lies still, eyes closed, letting the rhythm of the storm ease her slowly into wakefulness. It's going to be a blustery one, she thinks. These quiet, dreamy moments before rising, when sleep still lingers in her limbs, are some of her favorites. A yawn begins to stretch across her face as she slowly lifts her arms up and out, reaching toward the ceiling. Her legs extend under the covers, toes pointing before relaxing again into the softness. She circles her ankles first clockwise, then counterclockwise, warming them up for the steps ahead. Drawing in a deep breath, Lily lets it out with a slow exhale. The gentle hush of her bedroom feels especially comforting this morning. Just another minute, she thinks with a contented smile. Outside, the wind rattles the tree branches, sending a new wave of rain against the window. On days like this, when the weather seems wild and full of energy, Lily feels a sense of adventure rise within her. It's as though the gusts and gusting drops encourage her to be a bit more spontaneous, to welcome surprises with open arms. That thought pushes her up. She swings her legs over the side of the bed and stands, giving the window a glance. Darkness still covers the town. Early morning hasn't quite arrived for anyone else. Most of her neighbors are tucked away in warm beds, perhaps with cats curled beside them or dogs sleeping at their feet. Lily pads softly across the floor, slipping her feet into her favorite slippers, and heads into the kitchen. The first thing she does is set the kettle on the stove. A cup of strong, hot tea is the perfect companion for a morning like this. Leaning on the counter, she listens as the water begins to warm, tiny bubbles starting to rise and rumble inside the kettle. From a drawer, she retrieves her small metal tea ball and carefully fills it with strands of loose-leaf black tea. Each leaf curves at odd angles, and she has to be gentle as she twists the top closed, making sure not a single leaf escapes. She hooks the ball inside her mug using the tiny chain, and once the water is ready, she pours it carefully over the tea. The metal ball bobs and swirls, sending waves of amber color through the clear water. The sight is mesmerizing, tea spiraling outward like ink in a still pool. Lily lifts the cup to her nose and breathes deeply. The scent is warm, rich, and grounding, just the thing for a rainy, windblown morning. On impulse, she skips her usual splash of milk, choosing to enjoy it strong and unadulterated today. Still craving her morning ritual, she takes the cup to her favorite spot by the kitchen window. The street outside remains cloaked in darkness. The clouds are thick and heavy, drawn low over the town. Rain drizzles steadily, shifting in direction with the wind. The tall tree across the street sways and bends as the breeze courses through its limbs. Lily sips her tea slowly, each mouthful warming her from within. She wiggles her toes inside her slippers, delighting in the tingling comfort it brings. This might be the coziest morning of the season, she muses. When the last of her tea is gone, she rinses the mug and sets it on the bamboo drying rack by the sink. The sun hasn't risen, but Lily knows it's time to get ready for her walk to the bakery. After years of starting her mornings this way, Lily's inner clock knows the routine down to the second. She feels it when to finish her tea, when to lace up her boots, and exactly when to step outside. Back in her room, she chooses a soft gray shirt to wear, matching the tone of the day. Then she returns to the entryway and begins layering. Thick wool coat, check. Oversized knit scarf, a handmade by her friend Rose, wrapped snugly around her neck. That scarf, with its chunky cables and warmth, always reminds Lily of the friendships she's built in this small town. She tucks the scarf high around her chin, then pulls out her gloves and slips them on. Last but not least, she reaches for her bright yellow umbrella, the one with the duck's head handle. With everything in place, she opens the door and steps outside. A gust of wind presses against the umbrella, making it a challenge to open. But with steady hands and patience, she manages to pop it open with a satisfying whoosh, adding a splash of color to the gray morning. Raindrops drum on the fabric as she braces against the wind and steps onto the sidewalk. The sound is louder here, under the umbrella's curved dome, each drop echoing its arrival in a pleasing rhythm. She looks toward the house next door, where the white kit usually waits in the window. This morning, however, the little feline is still asleep, curled in a tight ball with its pink nose tucked beneath the snowy tail. Lily smiles at the peaceful sight. Usually the cat greets her, observing her path with a watchful gaze. But today is a lazy morning even for her furry friend. For a brief moment, Lily wishes she could remain in bed too, cozy and undisturbed. But then she thinks of the bakery and her regulars, and a smile creeps across her face. They're why she does this every day, rain or shine. They're the heart of the rainy day bakery. She walks briskly through the quiet town. Rainwater pools along the edges of the sidewalk, forcing her to sidestep now and again. Street lamps still cast their soft yellow light, glinting off the wet pavement. The sun is nowhere to be seen and likely won't be for hours. This might be one of those days when it stays gray until noon, she thinks. Up ahead, the rainbow-colored bakery door comes into view. Even in dim light, it glows with cheerful energy, beckoning passers-by with the promise of warmth, coffee, and comfort. It's more than just a shop, Lily knows. Her bakery has become part of the town's daily rhythm, a welcoming spot for conversation, reading, or simply escaping the weather for a little while. As she nears the bakery, a strong gust of wind tugs the umbrella from her grip. She clutches the handle tightly, but the top flips backward with a loud snap. No longer shielded from the rain, Lily makes a dash for the front door. Fumbling with her brass keys, she unlocks the door and slips inside, dripping and windblown. The bakery is dark and still. She sets the broken umbrella down by the door and wipes her boots carefully on the mat. With a flick of the switch, warm golden light floods the shop. Lily takes a moment to inspect the umbrella. The metal ribs are bent and the slider no longer catches. A sigh escapes her lips. This umbrella had served her well for many years, but now it's clearly at the end of its life. She's not sure when she'll find time to replace it, especially with a full day of baking ahead. Still, it's a minor inconvenience. She shrugs off the thought and refocuses on the comforting smells lingering in the air: coffee beans, pecans, flour. Her senses begin to orient to the tasks ahead. Usually she starts with cinnamon rolls, but today, like her tea, she feels like breaking routine. Perhaps the stormy weather is inspiring change. She heads to the cozy seating area and plugs in the fairy lights overhead. Instantly, the space brightens with a soft, sparkling glow. Feeling renewed, she steps into the pantry and scans the shelves lined with baking supplies. "What would bring me joy today?" she whispers to herself. She's made blueberry pies, lemon bars, pecan pastries, and chocolate muffins recently. Then she remembers something special. A few years ago, she stumbled upon her grandmother's old cookbook tucked on a shelf in the family home. Inside, she found a recipe she had never tried before: baked apples. A small slip of paper marked the page, and in the margin, her grandmother had written, "Perfect for a chilly autumn day." The page was full of handwritten notes and thoughtful adjustments to the original recipe. It felt like a treasure passed down through time. "That's what I'll make today," Lily decides. The ingredients are simple: apples, brown sugar, oats, spices, butter, and pecans. She gathers what she needs and brings everything back to the counter, letting the butter soften while she preps the filling. She chops the nuts coarsely, measures the oats, and turns on the oven to preheat. Then she carefully cores each apple, creating a hollow space for the filling. Her grandmother's note beside the step reads, "Use a paring knife and a spoon. Take your time." One by one, Lily works through the apples until a row of them sits neatly on the counter, hollowed and ready. She mixes the softened butter with brown sugar, cinnamon, and nutmeg, then stirs in the oats and nuts. The mixture is crumbly and aromatic, like autumn in a bowl. With a spoon, she fills each apple generously, pressing the mixture in until it reaches the brim. She lines them up in ceramic dishes and pours a little water into each, just enough to prevent burning, another tip from her grandmother. Wearing her colorful oven mitts, Lily slides the dishes into the oven and sets the timer. Just as she finishes wiping down the counter, the door creaks open. It's Rose, one of her favorite customers and closest friends. She waves as she walks in, scarf flapping and cheeks rosy from the cold. Lily pours her a hot cup of coffee, and they chat about the storm and Lily's decision to try her grandmother's recipe. When Lily mentions her broken umbrella, Rose gently pats her arm and assures her that everything will work out. "You'll see," she says with a wink. Soon after, Seamus arrives, followed by more familiar faces. The bakery begins to hum with warmth, conversation, and the scent of baked apples. The first sound Lily hears as her eyes flutter open is the soft, rhythmic drizzle of rain falling just outside her window. There's no wind this time, just the gentle percussion of countless raindrops touching down on rooftops, sidewalks, and leaves. It's steady, soothing, like a quiet lullaby for the morning. She yawns, stretching her arms high above her head and pointing her toes beneath the blanket. For a few sweet moments, she remains nestled in bed, enjoying the final traces of sleep still clinging to her thoughts. Today is an important day, the annual cookie decorating party at the bakery, and there's plenty to do before her guests arrive. Yesterday, Lily baked several batches of sugar cookies in preparation, but she still has more baking ahead. Cookie Day is one of her favorite traditions. The bakery always glows with warmth and laughter during this event, and she cherishes the joyful faces of her friends and neighbors as they gather to decorate and snack on sweet treats. Stretching one last time, Lily slides her legs over the edge of the bed and sits up. Her trusty slippers are waiting patiently on the floor, just where she left them. She slips them on and reaches for her soft robe hanging behind the bedroom door. Wrapping herself in its cozy fabric, she makes her way quietly into the kitchen. Her mornings follow a gentle rhythm. She begins by filling the kettle and setting it on the stove. While she waits for the water to heat, she retrieves a tin of cranberry orange spiced black tea from the shelf, a winter favorite with just the right hint of citrus and spice. She measures the fragrant tea into a metal infuser, places it into her favorite mug, and watches the water slowly darken as it steeps. The spicy steam swirls around her face as she leans in to inhale its comforting aroma. With a splash of milk added, she lifts the cup and heads over to the wooden bench beneath the kitchen window. Outside, the world is still. The sun has yet to rise, and the street remains cloaked in the soft gray veil of early morning. A tiny light glows faintly in her neighbor's window across the street, but most of the homes are dark, their inhabitants still asleep. Because she opens the bakery each morning, Lily is used to being awake before the rest of the town. She's always loved this part of her job, being the one to greet the new day first. She likes to think that her warm coffee and fresh pastries offer a little encouragement to others as they start their mornings, a gentle invitation to slow down and savor the simple things. Lily watches the clouds swirl above, wondering if the snow the forecast predicted will arrive after all. She taps the back of her hand against the cold window pane and smiles. Just a bit colder, she thinks. Snow always brings an extra dash of magic to the bakery. From her place behind the counter, she'll be able to see it falling outside, soft flakes gathering on sidewalks and lamp posts, children building snowmen in the park across the street, laughter echoing in the distance. She finds joy in rainy days, of course, but snowy days have their own special sparkle. Finishing her tea, Lily washes the mug and leaves it on the bamboo drying rack. She returns to her room to get dressed. There's one sweater she always wears on Cookie Day, and she's excited to pull it out again. It was a gift from a friend several years ago, and the moment she saw it, she knew it was perfect. The sweater features a quirky snowman stitched in playful squares rather than circles, grinning widely beneath a pair of towering evergreen trees. Her customers always chuckle when they see it. It has become something of a Cookie Day tradition on its own. With her sweater on, Lily heads to the front hallway, pulling on her coat, scarf, hat, and gloves. She reaches for her cheerful green umbrella speckled with yellow polka dots and topped with a duck's head handle. It was a gift from her customers after her previous umbrella broke in a storm, and every time she uses it, she thinks of the kindness behind the gesture. Closing the door behind her, Lily steps outside. The rain has eased into a gentle mist, more drizzle than downpour. Even so, she opens her umbrella and steps beneath it, enjoying the soft shelter it provides. Raindrops tap lightly above her, playing a quiet rhythm as she walks down the familiar path to the bakery. She glances over at her neighbor's window, expecting to see the white cat who usually watches her pass. Instead, a pair of curious eyes peer at her from behind the glass, this time belonging to a black cat. Lily squints, then catches a glimpse of a white tail flicking in the background. So they're both there now? The white cat has a companion. The sight makes her smile. It's comforting to think of the two cats keeping each other company, especially on rainy mornings like this. She continues walking, her boots splashing gently in shallow puddles. Soon, the multicolored door of the Rainy Day Bakery comes into view. Even in the subdued light, its vibrant hues of blue, green, orange, and purple stand out like a beacon. As she slides the key into the lock and opens the door, a wave of warmth greets her. She steps inside, shakes off her umbrella, and sets it by the entry to dry. Lily wipes her boots on the mat, takes a deep breath, and flicks on the lights. The bakery springs to life. She walks over to the cozy seating area, bends down, and plugs in the string of fairy lights. They blink on, casting a soft sparkle across the ceiling. She feels grounded again, ready for the day ahead. Normally, she starts by making her signature cinnamon rolls, but today is a little different. She still has cookie dough to prepare to ensure there are enough treats for decorating later. Cookie Day calls for variety. She heads to the pantry and begins gathering ingredients for 2 more batches, classic chocolate chip and whimsical stained glass sugar cookies. Flour, white and brown sugar, vanilla extract, black treacle, chocolate chips, cornstarch, salt, and a rainbow of hard candies all find their place on the counter. From the fridge, she collects eggs and baking soda. The butter she left out overnight has reached the perfect softness. She carefully divides the ingredients into 2 batches. First, she mixes the dry ingredients and wet ingredients separately, then combines them, folding the chocolate chips in gently to avoid breaking them. She scoops even portions onto a baking tray and slides it into the oven. For the stained glass cookies, she wraps the dough in wax paper and places it in the refrigerator to chill. Chilling helps it firm up, making it easier to roll and cut into shapes later. The air begins to fill with the scent of baking cookies, warm, buttery, and nostalgic. As the aroma grows, the bakery transforms into a space filled with anticipation and sweetness. Right on cue, the door swings open. Seamus walks in, shaking off the light rain and clutching his folded newspaper. He's a fixture in the bakery, always arriving early, especially on cookie days. His eyes twinkle with mischief as he greets Lily. "I figured I'd better be the first to taste test," he says with a wink. She has his coffee poured before he reaches the counter and slides it across to him. He picks it up, smiles, and asks, "What kinds are you baking this year?" "Chocolate chip, plain sugar, and stained glass," Lily replies, grinning. "Well then," Seamus says, "I suppose I'd better try one of each purely for quality control, of course." Lily laughs. "Naturally. Couldn't do cookie day without you." He settles into his usual seat by the window, looking out at the wet streets beyond. The sky is still gray, but there's a brighter undertone now, the promise of daylight. The timer chimes. The chocolate chip cookies are ready. Lily slides on her mitts and opens the oven door. A rush of warm, sugary air surrounds her as she pulls out the tray of golden, puffed cookies. The chocolate chips glisten in the center, gooey and melty. She places the tray on a cooling rack and watches as steam curls into the air. There's nothing quite like the scent of fresh cookies. It's a magical smell that instantly makes a space feel like home. Now it's time to retrieve the sugar cookie dough from the fridge. It's cool and firm to the touch, just right for cutting. She dusts her wooden table with flour and begins rolling out the dough. Smooth, careful movements guide the rolling pin over the surface until it's the ideal thickness. Then she uses an assortment of cookie cutters, circles, stars, trees, snowflakes to shape the dough. For the stained glass effect, she takes smaller cutters to carve out shapes in the center of each cookie. Once done, she lines them up on a tray. Next, she organizes the hard candies by color, placing them in separate bags. She crushes them into small shards with her rolling pin, then carefully spoons the vibrant candy dust into the cookie centers. The cookies go into the oven and Lily breathes deeply. A few moments to pause. The sky outside is lighter now. The drizzle continues, but people are starting to stir. Footsteps echo on the sidewalks, and one by one, familiar faces arrive: Rose, Gwen, and her twin boys. The toddlers toddle around in matching outfits, playing and giggling in the kids' corner. Lily smiles at them all, feeling the joy of the season rise in her chest. She gathers all the decorating supplies from the pantry: sprinkles, sugars, colored gels, chocolate curls, coconut flakes, peppermint bits, and more. She arranges them on the tables in the seating area. At the very back of the pantry, she retrieves a special item, a tall, metal tree used for displaying decorated cookies. Each branch is looped to hold a treat. She sets it up, knowing guests will enjoy hanging their cookie creations. When the stained glass cookies are ready, she removes them carefully. They're stunning golden cookies with gleaming centers of red, blue, green, and orange. She begins plating all the cookies on large trays, setting one at each table. But first, she makes a small plate for Seamus, offering him one of each kind. He takes a bite and sighs. "These," he says dramatically, "are the best cookies you've ever made." "Perfect, really." He says that every year, and every year, Lily treasures it. The tables are set, the bakery is buzzing, and just as the doors open to welcome more guests, snow begins to fall. Raindrops gently tapping against Lily's bedroom window draw her softly into wakefulness. For a few precious moments, she remains still beneath the cozy warmth of her blanket, her eyes still closed. Every so often, the wind stirs outside, sending a stronger rush of rain splattering across the glass. The ebb and flow of the storm become a lullaby, lulling her into a dreamy, relaxed state. She cherishes these first quiet minutes of the day when the mind is still half wrapped in dreams and the weight of sleep still rests gently on her body. She yawns, stretching her arms far above her head until her fingers nearly brush the headboard, then slowly circles her ankles first to the right, then the left, easing them into readiness. Lily inhales deeply, letting her lungs fill with cool morning air before slowly releasing the breath. The softness of her sheets cocoons her. Just one more minute, she whispers inwardly, a small smile curling at the edges of her mouth. Outside, the rain dances in waves against the window like curtains of water drawing and parting over the world. Another strong gust shakes the tree near her window, sending a fresh spray of droplets tumbling toward the glass. Lily knows a day like this, blustery, unpredictable, and full of mood, always brings its own sort of magic. With a deep breath and a little stretch, she pushes herself upright and swings her legs out of bed. Darkness still blankets the outside world, and the rest of the town lies quiet and still. She knows everyone is still sleeping, perhaps curled up under thick quilts or nestled next to purring pets. Even the neighborhood cats are likely tucked away in window nooks, waiting for dawn to bring warmth and light. Lily's feet slide into her soft slippers, and she tiptoes into the kitchen. Her first task, as always, is to boil water for tea. She places the kettle on the stove and leans against the counter, listening to the slow rumble as it begins to heat. Soon, small bubbles rise inside, building toward a boil. From the drawer, she selects her small metal tea infuser and fills it with loose black tea leaves. Each strand curls and twists, settling into the mesh. She carefully hooks the ball into her favorite mug, its chain draped over the edge. When the water is ready, she pours it over the tea, watching as the clear liquid darkens into rich amber swirls. Bubbles rise and burst softly, scenting the air. Lily raises the mug to her face, savoring the aroma. She decides to drink it black this morning, no milk, no sugar. Just the bold comfort of tea on a rainy morning. Cradling the warm mug between her palms, she walks over to the wooden seat beneath the kitchen window and gazes outside. Across the street, a low fog has begun to roll in behind her neighbor's house, muting the street in shades of gray. The autumn leaves still clinging to the trees rustle in the wind, their reds, oranges, and yellows blending into a watercolor wash. Her neighbor's garden remains well tended even in this late season. Fallen leaves scatter across the lawn like brush strokes, and Lily spots a patch of freshly turned earth. He must have planted his bulbs yesterday, she muses, a reminder that she should do the same soon. The flower beds outside the bakery are small but meaningful. Over the years, she's tried herbs, vegetables, and even wildflowers. But these days, she prefers tulips, daffodils, and crocuses. The bulbs need to be tucked into the soil before winter sets and are ready to wake with the warmth of spring. As she finishes her tea, Lily makes a mental note to bring her bulbs to the bakery today. She rinses her mug, places it on the bamboo drying rack, and returns to her room to get dressed. Today, she chooses a cheerful red shirt adorned with subtle yellow details, bright and bold against the otherwise muted weather. If the sky's going to be gray, she thinks, I might as well carry some color with me. By the front door, she finds a brown paper bag filled with flower bulbs, smooth, round, and firm. Some remind her of onions and garlic, while others have purplish hues that call to mind small turnips. She gently places the bag in her coat pocket. Next come the usual layers, her warm wool coat, a knit scarf, her gloves, and finally the green umbrella with yellow polka dots and the duck-shaped handle. A gift from the heart, she always wears it with a sense of gratitude. She opens the door and steps outside. A heavy mist cloaks the street, softening every edge and obscuring her view. The line between the pavement and the road fades into a pale blur. Her breath catches for a moment. There's something mystical about mornings like this. The fog creates a hush, a secret pocket of quiet before the day truly begins. She inhales deeply. The air is fresh, washed clean by last night's rain. It smells of wet earth, fallen leaves, and the promise of something new. Stepping off her porch, she starts the familiar walk toward the bakery. Small puddles dot the sidewalk, and she carefully steps through them, her boots keeping her warm and dry. The umbrella stays tucked at her side. The mist is too fine to warrant opening it. Instead, she lifts her gaze upward, watching the fog swirl around treetops and telephone wires. She runs her hand through the mist and watches droplets gather on her skin, cool, dewy beads like tiny stars. Instead of wiping them away, she rubs them into her palms, letting the moisture sink in. Her neighbor's house, usually visible from here, is shrouded in thick fog. Only the outline of the driveway gives a clue to what lies beyond. Somewhere inside, she imagines the black and white cats curled up together, dreaming of warmth and sunbeams. Lily continues walking, the sound of her footsteps muffled by the heavy air. Fog does strange things to sound. It compresses it, makes it feel nearer, more intimate. Even the distant clatter of a car door or barking dog seems close by. As she nears the bakery, she scans ahead, searching for its bright, familiar door. For a moment, it vanishes behind a swirl of gray, then reappears like a beacon guiding her through a cloud. Even if she couldn't see it, she knows she'd find it. Her feet have walked this path every morning for years. She could do it in her sleep. Still, it warms her heart to see the colors of the bakery emerge through the mist. The wooden door, painted in swirling shades of green, purple, orange, and blue, stands out against the gray like a joyful exclamation. She fishes out her brass key, fits it into the lock, and steps inside. The familiar scent of flour, sugar, and coffee beans greets her like an old friend. She wipes her boots on the mat, takes off her coat, and hangs it on the wall, leaving the bulbs safely in the pocket. Walking behind the counter, she finds the end of the fairy light strand and plugs it in. They flicker on above her, casting a warm, golden glow. She sighs. This is my favorite part of the day, she thinks. The moment the bakery comes to life. Gratitude fills her chest as she breathes in the comforting scents. Dusty flour that reminds her of baking with her grandmother, sugary hints of yesterday's cookies, and the rich, roasted aroma of coffee beans. Rolling her shoulders, she lets her body ease into the rhythm of the morning. Then she heads behind the counter to begin today's treat, fudge. She retrieves the recipe from where she left it yesterday, a worn page scribbled with notes and stained with cocoa powder. The handwriting is slightly smudged and one corner is torn, but it's perfect. The recipe only calls for 2 base ingredients, chocolate chips and sweetened condensed milk. Lily thinks for a moment about the variations she wants to make. Peppermint fudge is a seasonal favorite, especially topped with crushed candy canes. Rose, one of her regulars, adores hazelnut fudge. And for herself? She's been craving something citrusy, orange chocolate fudge with candied orange peel. She heads into the pantry, collecting her double boiler, wax paper, chocolate chips, sweetened condensed milk, and flavorings. Her arms full, she returns to the kitchen and sets everything on the counter. The double boiler is one of her prized tools, a gift to herself when she opened the bakery. Her mother had always insisted that a double boiler was essential for proper fudge. Keeps the chocolate from burning, she used to say. Lily never forgot that advice. She fills the bottom pot with water and places the second pot on top. Once it begins to heat, she adds a generous portion of chocolate chips to the upper pot and stirs slowly as they melt. The chips soften and swirl into a glossy lake of chocolate. When the chocolate is smooth, she stirs in sweetened condensed milk, creating a rich, velvety mixture. She removes the pot from the heat and adds peppermint extract, stirring again as the sharp, cool scent fills the room. She lines a baking tray with wax paper and pours the fudge into it, scraping the pot clean with a wooden spoon. The mixture spreads like molten lava, thick and silky. Then comes the fun part, toppings. Lily unwraps a handful of candy canes, slips them into a plastic bag, and places them between 2 towels. She gently crushes them with her rolling pin, listening to the soft snap of sugar breaking into shards. Sprinkling the candy over the fudge, she admires the way the red and white pieces catch the light. Some will melt slightly into the top, adding sparkle and crunch. She carries the tray to the cooling rack, then returns to wash the pot and prepare her next batch, orange chocolate. Zesting a fresh orange, she stirs the fragrant curls of peel into a new batch of melted chocolate and milk. She adds a splash of orange oil and watches the mixture take on a luxurious sheen. After pouring the orange fudge into its tray, she decorates it with candied orange peel, placing each piece with care. She pops one into her mouth and closes her eyes, bright, sweet, and just a little bitter. Perfect. Just as she begins melting the last batch for Rose's hazelnut fudge, the bell above the bakery door jingles. Rose steps inside, brushing off her scarf. "Sure is foggy out there," she says, laughing. Lily smiles. "You're just in time." Rose entered the bakery just as the fog seemed to fold even tighter around the little town. Her cheeks were flushed from the cold, and her scarf hung damp over her coat as she carefully closed the door behind her. "Morning," she said brightly, though her voice was a little hushed as if the soft, misty weather outside had followed her in. "Perfect timing," Lily replied with a grin, already pouring her friend a fresh cup of coffee. "Fudge is happening. 3 kinds." Rose lit up as she removed her gloves. 3. Peppermint, orange chocolate, and of course, hazelnut. Lily slid the mug across the counter. "Sit, relax. I'm just finishing up the hazelnut now." Rose gave her a playful salute and sank into the cushioned bench near the window, sighing contentedly as she wrapped her hands around the warm mug. Back in the kitchen, Lily stirred the thick chocolate mixture slowly in her double boiler. The scent was deep and rich, like the kind of comfort you didn't even know you needed until it hit you. She added the hazelnut extract, watching it swirl into the glossy surface, then sprinkled in a handful of chopped roasted nuts. The fudge thickened slightly as it cooled. She lined a square pan with parchment, poured the mixture in, and smoothed it with a spatula. Then she gently pressed whole hazelnuts into the top in an even pattern, each one like a little gem. It would take time to cool, but the scent already filled the bakery. When she returned to the front, Rose was sipping slowly, watching the world disappear and reappear through the window. "The fog makes the street look like a dream," Rose murmured. "It's peaceful, isn't it?" Lily said, taking a seat opposite her for a moment. "Feels like the world's taking a breath." Rose nodded, then motioned to a small paper bag sitting on the counter. "What's in there?" "Spring bulbs," Lily answered. "I was going to plant them this morning if the ground's not too hard." "Well then," Rose said, setting down her mug, "you're not planting alone." Lily smiled. "You sure?" "Positive. I've got my gardening gloves in my bag." They bundled up again, coats, scarves, gloves, and stepped outside into the muffled quiet. The fog seemed even thicker now, rolling in gentle waves past the buildings. The garden bed in front of the bakery was damp, the soil dark and soft beneath the brick border. Kneeling side by side, they began digging small holes for each bulb: daffodils, crocuses, hyacinths. The earth gave easily under their trowels, and soon the paper bag was half empty. "I love this part," Lily said, tucking something away and trusting it'll know when to wake up. Rose smiled as she brushed dirt from her gloves. Like magic in slow motion. They worked quietly for a few minutes, each absorbed in the rhythm of planting. The mist curled around them, and the soft glow of the bakery lights behind the fog felt like a warm blanket. After the last bulb was in, Lily sat back on her heels and looked at their work. "In a few months, this will be a sea of color. And people will think it just happened," Rose added. "Let them. We'll know." Back inside, they peeled off damp outer layers and stood near the oven to warm their hands. The peppermint fudge was cool enough to cut, so Lily carefully lifted it from the pan and sliced it into perfect little squares, each one topped with crushed candy cane. She placed a few on a small plate and handed it to Rose. "First taste?" Rose took a bite, eyes widening. "Lily, you've outdone yourself." "I keep trying," Lily said with a wink. Next came the orange chocolate, bright, rich, with just the right zing. She topped it with thin strips of candied orange peel, arranging them like tiny sunbursts across the glossy surface. By the time the hazelnut fudge had set, a few regulars had arrived: Seamus, Gwen, and little Ellie, who ran in with boots too big and a hat that kept slipping over her eyes. Her mom followed close behind, smiling apologetically. "It's fudge day," Ellie shouted, already climbing onto her favorite stool. "You're in luck," Lily told her. 3 kinds today." Seamus laughed. You trying to win Bakery of the Year again? Every year, Lily replied. As she served slices of fudge and poured hot drinks, the space slowly filled with the hum of conversation, laughter, and the clinking of mugs on saucers. Rain continued to fall outside, barely more than mist now, casting soft halos around the street lamps. Later in the morning, a man in a dark coat stepped in with a camera slung over his shoulder. He was a photographer for the town's newsletter and had stopped by to feature the bakery's winter displays. "Do you mind if I take a few shots?" he asked. "Of course not," Lily said, straightening the trays of fudge and lighting the last few fairy bulbs strung near the window. He moved quietly through the space, capturing details, the swirls of steam above coffee cups, the smiles of friends mid-laughter, the way Ellie's hands were dusted with powdered sugar from the cookies she'd been given. "This place," the photographer said, "feels like the heart of the town." Lily paused, her hands resting on a warm tray. "That's what I've hoped for." By midday, the fog began to lift slightly and a soft brightness settled over the neighborhood. The bakery buzzed gently, filled not just with the scent of fudge, but with the comfort of shared space, of people who knew each other, who showed up year after year, in every season. In the back of the shop, Lily took a quiet moment to herself. She glanced out the window at the small garden bed they'd planted that morning. Beneath the soil, the bulbs were already beginning their silent wait. Just like the bakery, they would bloom in their own time with patience, care, and love. The afternoon sunlight arrived quietly, gently parting the clouds without any grand announcement. It slipped through the windows of the rainy day bakery, stretching across the wooden floors in golden lines, and glimmered against the cooling trays of fudge. Outside, the fog had almost entirely lifted, leaving only a light haze that made everything look softly brushed. Inside, the energy remained steady but warm. A couple with matching knitted scarves shared a slice of pie at the corner table, speaking in hushed tones. Two students leaned over a textbook near the fireplace, mugs of cocoa warming their hands as they quizzed each other between bites of a shared croissant. Behind the counter, Lily wiped her hands on a striped towel and surveyed the bakery with quiet pride. The hum of gentle conversation, the scent of chocolate and cinnamon lingering in the air, the warmth radiating from the ovens, all of it made her feel deeply rooted, connected to this place and these people. She turned toward the kitchen to check the latest tray of muffins when the bell above the door jingled again. A tall man stepped inside, blinking as he adjusted to the light. He wore a rain-speckled coat and held a folded newspaper under one arm. He paused just inside the doorway, his gaze sweeping the room before landing on the display case. Lily didn't recognize him. He had the look of someone from out of town, not in a hurried, touristy way, but in the slow, observant manner of someone who hadn't yet decided what to think of the place he'd just entered. "Afternoon," Lily said, offering her best welcoming smile. "Come in, warm up. We've got fresh fudge." The man returned her smile just slightly and moved toward the counter. "Fudge, you say?" "3 kinds," Lily said proudly. "Peppermint, orange chocolate, and hazelnut." He studied the display case for a long moment, then looked back at her. "One of each, please." She nodded, grabbing a small box and lining it with wax paper. As she cut and arranged the pieces, she glanced up. Passing through, she asked casually. "Kind of," he said, watching as she worked. "I'm here visiting family. My sister lives a few blocks away. I haven't been back in a while." "Well, welcome back," Lily said. "We're glad to have you." The man smiled more fully this time, a quiet gratitude in his eyes. "This place, it smells like childhood," he said softly. Lily chuckled. "That's the cinnamon. It sneaks up on people." He paid in cash, thanked her, and took the box with both hands as if it held something delicate. "I might be back tomorrow," he added before stepping back into the fading mist. As the door closed behind him, Lily returned to the kitchen and pulled the muffin tray from the oven. The tops were golden and domed, studded with bits of cranberry and orange zest. She placed them on the cooling rack and breathed in the warm, citrusy scent. She was wiping down the counters when she heard a voice from the front. "Miss Lily." She turned to see Ellie standing at the counter, clutching something in her mittened hands. Her mother stood nearby, holding a shopping bag and smiling. Yes, sweetheart? Lily asked, walking over. Ellie reached out and opened her hands. Inside was a crumpled drawing, lines of purple and green, and what looked like a cookie with a smiling face. I drew you the bakery, Ellie said. That's you, and that's me, and those are the fairy lights. Lily knelt beside her, touched. This is beautiful. Thank you. I'm going to hang it right by the window, okay? Ellie beamed, and her mother mouthed a silent thank you before leading her toward the door. The rest of the afternoon passed gently. A retired teacher named Helen stopped by with her crossword puzzle, sipping tea slowly while filling in answers. A teenager in a varsity jacket lingered near the fudge case, clearly unsure of what to order until Lily offered him a sample. By 4 o'clock, the clouds had begun to gather again, and the mist was starting to return. Lily lit the lamps by the window and flipped the switch for the outdoor string lights, just as the wind began to pick up again. She took a few moments to step outside and adjust the small chalkboard sign by the door. The new flavor of the day, orange chocolate fudge, was now written in careful, curling script. The garden bed, planted just that morning, was damp and dark. Lily bent to press the soil gently around one of the bulbs just to make sure it hadn't shifted in the soft earth. She smiled to herself, thinking about spring, about colors waiting patiently below the surface. Back inside, she poured herself a final cup of tea and took it to the back office. It was a cozy space filled with old calendars, recipe clippings, a bulletin board covered in photos and thank you notes. She sipped the tea and leaned back in her chair, allowing herself a few minutes of quiet. She glanced at the frame photo on the desk. It was of her and her grandmother, taken outside the original Rainy Day Bakery, a tiny one-room shop with a hand-painted sign. Her grandmother had opened it 50 years ago, and Lily had grown up watching her mix dough, stir sauces, and talk to customers like they were old friends. She traced the edge of the photo with her finger, remembering the sound of her grandmother's laughter, the smell of cardamom rolls, the way she always tied her apron twice because she didn't trust a single knot. I hope you'd be proud, Lily whispered. A knock on the doorframe made her look up. It was Rose, holding 2 mugs and a half-sliced apple tart. I figured we earned this today, she said, setting one mug in front of Lily and sitting on the arm of the couch across the room. Lily smiled, touched by the simple gesture. They sat in companionable silence for a few minutes, eating slowly, letting the day settle around them. Eventually, Rose stretched and stood. I'll start wiping the tables. I'll do the display case, Lily offered. Together, they moved through the closing routine, cleaning surfaces, covering baked goods, counting the till. The last customers had trickled out an hour ago, and now the bakery was theirs again, wrapped in the hush of early evening. Lily walked to the front door and turned the lock. Outside, the street was empty, the lights glowing against the mist that had returned in full. A few drops of rain tapped softly against the glass. She stood there for a moment longer, watching the town settle into its nighttime rhythm, lights flickering on in windows, the hush of cars passing slowly through fog. Then she turned back, flicked off the main lights, and let the soft golden glow of the fairy lights carry her into night. The sky had deepened to a velvety slate by the time Lily stepped out of the bakery, locking the door behind her. The fairy lights twinkled softly against the window panes, their glow muted by the soft sheen of evening mist. She slipped her hands into her coat pockets and began the familiar walk home, her boots making gentle clicks against the damp sidewalk. The streets were hushed now, only the occasional shimmer of headlights passed by, cutting brief lines of silver across the pavement before disappearing into the fog again. The air was crisp, holding the distinct scent that came only after a full day of rain, wet bark, clean earth, and the faint sweetness of fallen leaves. It was a scent Lily had always loved, one that reminded her of new beginnings. As she neared the corner of Maple and 3rd, she glanced up at the house with the window where the 2 cats lived. Sure enough, the white one sat on the sill, tail curled neatly around its paws. A moment later, the black one appeared beside it, mirroring its posture. The sight made Lily smile. Back home, she hung her coat and scarf by the door, set her boots neatly on the mat, and padded into the kitchen in her socks. The apartment above the bakery was quiet, still carrying the faint aroma of cinnamon and tea. She filled the kettle, set it to boil, and began her nightly routine, turning off small lights one by one, straightening a book on the side table, fluffing the cushion on the window seat. When the kettle whistled, she returned to the kitchen, poured the steaming water over a new tea blend, chamomile with lavender, and let it steep while she dimmed the rest of the lights. Mug in hand, she settled into her favorite chair by the window. Outside, the world was painted in mist and silver light, soft shadows stretching across rooftops and quiet streets. Somewhere nearby, wind chimes tinkled gently. She took a sip of tea, letting its warmth ease the slight ache in her shoulders. It had been a full day busy, yes, but in the best way. The kind of day that reminded her why she loved what she did. People had laughed, shared stories, tried new things. Children had squealed over sprinkles. Friends had offered to help plant flowers. Fudge had disappeared faster than she could cut it. There was something magical about days like this, not because of the weather or even the treats, but because of the people who came through her door, each one bringing a little warmth with them. She glanced over at the small drawing Ellie had given her earlier. It was now pinned to the bulletin board beside a handful of postcards, thank you notes, and photographs. Crayon swirls marked the shape of the bakery with stick figures holding cookies under strings of fairy lights. It wasn't perfect. It was better, it was real. Lily finished her tea slowly, letting her thoughts settle. She thought of her grandmother again, of how she used to hum while baking, how she always knew just what someone needed, whether it was a warm slice of bread or a listening ear. I think you'd like it here now, Lily whispered. She set the empty mug in the sink and turned off the final lamp, the room falling into a soft, peaceful darkness. Only the light above the stove remained on, casting a gentle golden circle across the tiles. In the quiet that followed, Lily walked over to the window once more and looked out across the rooftops. The fog had thinned slightly and the stars were beginning to peek through, small and bright like tiny lanterns. The moon hovered low, framed between two chimneys. The bakery sat just across the street, dark now except for the twinkle of the fairy lights. It looked like a painting, timeless and still. Tomorrow, the ovens would warm again. The door would open to laughter and footsteps. Someone new might wander in. Someone old might return. And she would be there, apron tied, ready to welcome them. With a final glance, Lily whispered, "Good night, little shop," and turned away. The world outside breathed in the quiet, and the rainy day bakery rested, holding the warmth of today and the promise of tomorrow.